Welcome, students and teachers. Okay, so have you ever been right in the middle of a Spanish speaking exam, or maybe you're furiously writing an essay, and suddenly you just freeze? You want to sound totally natural, you really want to snag that top grade, but you're completely stuck. Well, today we are unlocking the ultimate cheat code for natural Spanish communication. In this explainer, we are going to master object pronouns once and for all. Right, so picture this. You're sitting in your AP, IB, or GCSE exam. The clock is literally ticking down. You're trying to say something super simple, like, I give it to him. And then absolute panic sets in. Wait, is it low or is it lay? Which one do you actually choose under pressure? This is exactly the moment that separates a pretty good grade from an absolutely flawless one. We actually call this massive problem vocabulary vertigo. It's that awful state of freezing up and just repeating the exact same nouns over and over. You end up saying el libro like 5 times in a single paragraph just because you're terrified of messing up those Spanish object pronouns. But here's the honest truth. Pronouns aren't some arbitrary grammar punishment designed to torture you. They actually exist to stop you from sounding repetitive, making your Spanish flow exactly like a native speaker. So here's our roadmap to mastery for today: the vocabulary vertigo trap, direct versus indirect logic, the 2 placement laws, the lead to C secret, and exam tips in special verbs. Let's dive right in. Section 1, the vocabulary vertigo trap. Section 2, direct versus indirect logic. Okay, so this is where we build our foundation. Mastering pronouns really depends entirely on answering concrete questions about the verb's action. Direct object pronouns, or DOPs, answer the question, what or whom directly receives the action. On the flip side, indirect object pronouns, or IOPs, answer to whom or for whose benefit is the action actually done. Basically, think of the direct object as the exact target of the action, and the indirect object as the beneficiary. Let's see these direct object pronouns in action. We've got me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, and las. Now, take a really simple sentence. Yo compro el libro. I buy the book. Ask yourself, what is receiving the action of buying? The book, right? So we just replace el libro with lo, and that seamlessly transforms our sentence into yo lo compro. I buy it. It's simple, direct, and just sounds so much more elegant. Now, let's break down those indirect object pronouns. They look super similar, but notice the absolutely crucial difference in meaning here. It's all about doing something to or for someone. The list is me, te, le, nos, os, and les. So if you want to say he sent the card to Julia, Julia's clearly the beneficiary. She's the one receiving the card. So mandó la carta a Julia effortlessly becomes le mandó la carta. He sent the card to her. And this right here is your golden rule. Seriously, take a mental screenshot of this. Receives the action, that's direct. To or for someone, that's indirect. You really want to drill this core mnemonic into your head so it just becomes an automatic reflex during a super stressful exam. Whenever you feel stuck, just come straight back to this exact thought process. Moving on to Section 3, the 2 placement laws. So now that we know exactly which pronouns to use, where do we actually put them? Well, there are only 2 non-negotiable laws you ever need to remember. Rule A, place the pronoun right before conjugated verbs, and Rule B, attach it directly to the end of infinitives, gerunds, or affirmative commands. That is literally it. Just 2 choices, completely depending on the state of your verb. Let's see Rule A in action. If you want to say, I have it, and your verb, tengo, is conjugated, that pronoun must go before it. So you get yo lo tengo. Saying yo tengo lo is completely 100% incorrect. Just remember, the pronoun loves to stand right in front of a conjugated verb. Now for Rule B. If you are using an unconjugated verb, like the infinitive comprar, or an affirmative command like da, you get to attach the pronoun directly to the end, kind of like snapping building blocks together. So, I want to buy it can be quiero comprarlo. And give it to him becomes one single solid word block, dáselo. It just attaches right there at the very end. Which brings us to Section 4, the lead to say secret. All right, so what happens when you need to use both an indirect and a direct pronoun in the exact same sentence? Well, the first collision rule is honestly a pretty great life lesson as well as a grammar rule. People before things. The person, which is your indirect object pronoun, always takes priority and goes right before the object, your direct object pronoun. IOP plus DOP. It is always in that order, no exceptions. But here's where it actually gets a little tricky. Step 1, people before things, gives us le plus lo. But step 2 brings us face to face with the famous la rule violation. In Spanish, you simply cannot have two L pronouns back to back. Try saying lay low. It just sounds incredibly clunky to a native speaker. So step 3 is the magic transformation. That very first pronoun, lay or less, automatically transforms into say. So lay low gracefully becomes say low. Let's look at a really concrete example of this transformation. Say you want to write, I write the letter to them. The letter is la, and to them is les. People before things naturally gives us les la. But wait, the la rule violation strikes. You can't say that. So les la transforms. The sentence becomes yo se la escribo. It flows beautifully, doesn't it? This is the absolute secret to perfectly natural Spanish communication. And finally, Section 5, Exam Tips and Special Verbs. Okay, we are in the home stretch. Let's focus on those specific traps that typically trip up even advanced students. First up, verbs that answer the question, to whom. I'm talking about verbs like gustar, doler, encantar, and quedar. These verbs describe how something affects someone, and because they answer to whom or for whom, they almost always trigger an indirect object pronoun. That is exactly why we say me gusta and never lo gusta. The chocolate is pleasing to me. And here is a rapid-fire exam tip to guarantee you never mix up your L's again. The quick rule. See equals lo or la because you directly see someone, but speak to equals le because you are speaking to them. So, I see him is lo veo, but I speak to him is le hablo. Just lock that away in your brain and you will never confuse them under pressure. To pull this all together, here is your ultimate visual cheat sheet for direct and indirect object pronouns. Teachers, this is the perfect flip learning tool for your classroom routine. And students, I highly recommend grabbing a screenshot right now. It covers everything from those what versus to whom questions to the exact placement rules and even that sneaky lid to say transformation. It really is your foolproof study tool. So the next time you sit down to write a Spanish sentence, ask yourself this: what receives the action? Or who benefits from it? If you can master that single question, you've completely mastered the ultimate cheat code for your top grade. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and until next time, happy learning.